I've been in computer science for 15 years, and I'm looking at clean tech as the next big wave, but I'm still not very sure should I give up all my experience. I'm trying to find out, is there a middle ground where I can still be technologist, but can also not miss the bus? Is there something like that?
Sure. This is a very good question. One of my close friends, Rajiv, has been talking to me about it, and so on. I was not a solar guy. I was not a wind power guy. I was never a bio guy. Just want to make sure that nothing stops you. You are an intelligent person. You are a creative person. You are a hardworking person. That matters. That doesn't mean that jobs are waiting for you, right? Just want to make sure you understand the difference between this and that, number one. Right? And now in clean energy, these are the following things. Always you understand exhaustively what's all there, right? Wind power has been there for a long time, and a lot of wind farms have come up in India and many other countries. And wind is available only in some location, but it's available when sun is not there most of the time, right? And it doesn't depend on whether it is a cold place, or is it New Zealand, or is it Sweden, or is it Rajasthan. It doesn't matter, right? Whereas if you take the solar, which is a totally different thing, right? It depends on the amount of sun. You need to have a minimum what's called 5 hours to 6 hours of minimum, right? To be able to do it. Ideally, you got to have what's called 6.5 to 7 hours of sun insolation averaged over the whole year. It should be more or less. That's the minimal thing that you need. The next thing is the cost. To your help, there is a company called China Inc., which will take care of you to bring down the price of anything, and that has happened recently, right? Thin film industry was big. First solar, and then applied materials, and on. You heard them talking. Thin film is going to beat everything else. It will be less than $1 per watt. The definitions were wrong, but just for saying all this. Guess what? Applied materials closed. And thin film, a company called Signet Solar, run by one of my friend Rajiv, luckily, is not there. Things like that. Not because of the technology, right? You have to understand. Most of the technologists and engineers like you and me, we think engineering is the reason it grows, engineering is the reason it doesn't grow. That's what I was trying to come back to. Don't go by only engineering aspects of it, the business. Whereas the polycrystalline companies, like SunPower, may not be able to compete over time, even though they are doing Philippines, but no one can compare to China, right? And they have brought down the price so much with all kinds of subsidies that thin film cannot sustain and do very well at all. And they are selling to India. When I went to India, there were plane load of Chinese were coming there, right? So think of international competition. Okay. Now, what part of work I'm just giving examples only, not coming into all other areas, right? What matters in terms of a job? That's what I'm talking. I'm not as an entrepreneur, not as an industry. I'm focusing only on your question on this. For a job, for how long you're looking to be in the industry, right? And what kind of work you want to do, right? How do you want to retrain yourself to some extent, right? And then, if you go to a big company and say, I'm a software guy, I want to do this, say, do you want to do smart grid? That's how they say. That's good, right? I'm just trying to bring it to you to point. Smart grid has clean energy, but there's a lot of software, lot of sensors, lot of utility telemetering that is required, and there is management, etc. that you have to do, load balancing, etc. you have to do. So that area you can immediately transplant yourselves. Smart metering, there's a lot of software, hardware, that are whether you're computer science or hardware, like, it all depends, but you can still do a lot of that. There's little hardware, more software these days, right? In solar, so there is engineering, and if you want to get into installation, operations and maintenance, that's engineering, operations, logistics. That's also there. Even in solar farms, you want to be able to monitor using wireless sensor networks. Ultimately, have technology, but it takes time for you to be able to see on your mobile, and your farm in Rajasthan that you own, you can monitor and say, this particular panel is working, not working. You call and say, hey, go and repair it, go and replace. That requires a lot of software, a lot of computing, a lot of cloud computing. Okay, I'm just giving you a hint of how you can use all of this.
Next question. Hi. Can you come?
I have a question.
Can you be louder?
Yeah. Am I loud enough now?
Yeah.
Can you comment on bloom energy? I have this feeling that biofuel would always be a second-class citizen.
Yeah.
Because it just can meet people's needs.
Yeah.
And also, as you rightly said, you need a lot of energy to get energy.
Yeah.
So, can you comment?
I'll be glad to do. Dr. KR Sridhar is the founder of Bloom Energy that he's talking about. They are in the fuel cell business.
He's also an NITian.
Yeah. And it's based on fuel cell technology, right? They are using the what's called PEM fuel cells, and that normally goes from up to 5 kilowatts range. That's what it is. Proton exchange membrane, PEM. That's what is used. And for people who already know, electrolysis, this is nothing but reverse of electrolysis. You are supplying hydrogen, taking oxygen, mixing it, it produces current. That's reverse of electrolysis and hot water. That's what it produces. And talking about bloom energy, there are some claims that probably cannot be done. Most probably cannot be done. But now again, it's not business and it's not just technology. It's not engineering. He has big guys whom he has roped. Colin Powell is there, Dr. T.J. Rogers is there, right? You have seen big names that can draw money, like Solitra has drawn a lot of money. So there's a staying power, influential power that someone can get from that kind of a technology, right? That you want to make sure you understand. And you wanted to know just about Blue Energy as a company, or you wanted to know fuel cells overall? You can ask any other time. I can never.
That 5 or 10 years from now, you just have a small board at your backyard that would satisfy your needs for 1 to 3 years. So if that is the kind of position they're making, probably that's going to take over all these biofuels.
No, it's not going to take. You need hydrogen, right? For hydrogen or natural gas, these are the two sources. I'm going to give you fundamental. I was a professor, so I'm going to give you fundamentals in few words, very easy to understand. Fuel cell, as I said, is reverse of electrolysis. You have to supply hydrogen. Oxygen comes from nature, and you produce hot water. Electricity is produced. That's a simple thing, right? And to get hydrogen, either you get that in the bottle, right? And you remember in India, once upon a time, there was gas tanks where bottles were coming, and before all of this are there, here natural gas comes automatically. If that can be supplied to your home, you can do it, right? Or you use natural gas. Any NH4 source, you can crack it at 800 degrees centigrade and produce hydrogen out of it, right? And that hydrogen, it has to go to 800 degrees centigrade. Remember that number there. So you have to, it's a high temperature process. You have to kick start first with some battery, and it starts generating heat, and then you use any natural gas or methane or any other source with NH4. You crack it and you get hydrogen. That hydrogen is supplied, right? However, this general concept of using fuel cell at home is nothing new. I ran a company called PowerPoint International, where I acquired other fuel cell companies, where like your air conditioner, that size of a bigger size of a thing that you have, either you get hydrogen or natural gas, right? So now it depends on you're using some other energy there. You're not using any renewable energy from somewhere else. Natural gas has to come. And it used to be $75,000 in the beginning. It came to $25,000 per unit. It's the capex. Whether it's solar, whether it's wind or biofuel, what capex that you need to spend, how much you can amortize, how long you can, it takes for you to get for the energy that you're generating out of this. That's one factor that you need to, details can be calculated. I want to make sure you understand that part, the capex and the operational cost, and source of the energy that is required. It's not a renewable energy. You're still using hydrogen, natural gas. For the cost of natural gas, what is the cost of installation and operation, and how much it takes to get your thing paid back, like solar panels you have it on your house. It takes easily 15 years or more. In solar farm it takes 15 years more unless you get subsidy. Like Solindra got the government subsidy if you buy, and similarly subsidy. But subsidy can last too long. Just want to make sure that you understand. Including Germany and Spain, they gave a lot of subsidy. Now someone was paying. Now it's coming down now.